Right guys, welcome to another Friday Waffle. I always try and think I should say something different than welcome to the Friday Waffle, but then I suppose given it is the Friday Waffle, then there's not actually anything wrong with saying welcome to the Friday Waffle, is there? Nah, not really. Anyway, yep, I hope you've all had an okay week. You know what, I'm always conscious, every time I say that I rub my face. If you look at any video, any Friday Waffle I do, I always say the same thing, and I always rub my face right after it. It's been quite a week at work again. It's just ridiculously busy. I was on holiday again today. I think I mentioned last week I've got days holidays to take, and there's just no way I could possibly take like a week off. So I've been taking Fridays off. So I've had the last three off actually. But work is just insane. But anyway, we're not here to talk about my work. We're here to talk about all things old and video game related. So what I was thinking was, why am I a gamer? What makes me a gamer? I mean, here I am. I'm 50 years old. I've been playing video games since I was 18 years old. So why is that? I mean, there's all my other mates. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a couple of mates that are sort of into this kind of thing, but invariably none of the other guys are. They're into the golf, football, whatever. So how did I end up going down the road of being a video gamer? Why is it? It's an interesting thing to think about. Now, I think before you can even begin to talk about why you're a video gamer, I think you've got to go back and look at, when this whole thing started. Now, my first memory, and I've spoke about this countless times, but I suppose if you're quite new to the channel, then you've probably never heard me talk about it. My first experience of video games, where I saw Pong, the Pong arcade game. It might have been one of the bootleg ones, I don't know. I was about, what would I be, about 8, 9 years old, something like that. I saw it in Edinburgh Airport. But that was it. It was a fleeting glimpse, and I never really thought any more about it. My first home system was the Binatone TV game, this sort of luminous orange one that played tennis. Was it squash practice, and what was the other one? Football. Football had, instead of one bat, you had two bats. Aye, that was my first home system. Then I got so that was my first home system. Now, the strange thing is, and I know it's a silly thing to say, I didn't really think of that system as being a home video game, if that made any sense. It was more like I don't know, it was just an electronic toy, because even when that came out, computers weren't a thing. I know they were a thing, but they weren't a thing in the home. So computers, like these Binatone TV game things, they were a standalone toy that existed. There wasn't any Spectrums, or at least I wasn't aware of them at that point. So I had the TV game. I don't know how long I had it. Like I mentioned last week, when you think back to being a teenager, it seems, and you talk about timelines and things that happened, it seemed to be like a long time. I don't mean a long time ago, but like when I had a C64, it felt like I had that for years. Probably the reality was I had it for maybe 4 years. Now, at the crusty old age of 50, 4 years goes by in a blink of an eye. But when you're only 16 years old, time definitely does go slow. So yeah, I had the Binatone thing, I don't know, say a year, something like that. I don't know when it would be, 1978, something like that. I got bored of it very quickly. Yeah, it was a new thing. I could interact with the TV, but the games were so basic, and they really, other than squash practice, which was basically moving a bat left and right, you needed somebody else to play, and even then, it was still just moving a bat left and right. So very quickly, I got bored of the thing, and I don't even know what happened to it. Knowing me, was one of these people, I was quite destructive. I would end up taking it to bits and I couldn't fix it, and then it would end up in the bucket. So I really got no idea what happened to it. Excuse me. So then, yeah, that disappeared. And then the next thing was, did I see Space Invaders? Yeah, I think I did. I became, the very first time I saw Space Invaders was in the Sports Centre in Livingston, and like everybody at that time, it was something I'd never ever seen before. Here was like a TV, but you were able to interact with it, and that was just quite mental. And so yeah, I used to go up to sports. I used to go to judo. I didn't do that for very long. Used to go to judo, and I would always have a shot of Space Invaders. But you know what? I think I think I'd be lucky if I lasted. I don't think I ever completed a level. I mean, I was so bad at it, you know, because it was completely new. It was something that had never been, you know, never been seen before. But I used to spend probably more time watching like the bigger boys playing it, guys who could actually play it, and it was just it absolutely intrigued me. You know, I was glued to this thing. I thought this was incredible. Here was this thing, and you could interact with it, and you were killing these things, and the noise of it, and even like the decals on the side of the cab. It was something I'd never ever seen before. So yeah, that would be what, I don't know, 79. And then shortly after that, the adverts for the Atari 2600, or the Atari, we called it Atari VCS, back in the time. So the Atari, yeah, there was adverts on TV for the Atari 2600, and then I used to go up to, you know, shopping centre or whatever it was, and you would see Atari, you know, playing Pac-Man or whatever, and it was just like the most amazing thing ever. I'd never seen anything like it all my life, and I would have absolutely killed to get one. And I used to ask mum and dad for it, but it was a cast iron. No, can't afford it, and that was it. And so I never ever had any. I never had any hopes of ever getting one, because my mum and dad, they weren't going to buy it for me, and that was that. There was, you know, it's not like nowadays. I mean, my daughter will ask me for something, and eventually you'll give in. You know, being a kid of the 70s, things were a lot stricter. So when my mum and dad says no, we can't afford it, that was the end of it. You didn't even talk about it. But it was, I'd seen it, and it was something that I always used to think about. I mean, it's, I can even now, sitting here now, what would it be, some 40 years on, I can still remember as a kid thinking about the 2600, and it was, I think it was priced at £100, £99.99, and I used to imagine how I could possibly get that kind of money, but it was so far away from ever being something I would get, that I just accepted it, that I wasn't going to get one. And then my mate, one of my mates, he was quite spoiled. I always felt sorry for him. His dad worked in oil rigs, and I always got the feeling his mum didn't have a lot of time for him. So she would kind of push him out the house and give him like £5 to spend, which was a lot of money back in the 70s. And this one day he came down to my house with an Atari, and we spent the whole day playing Combat and Pac-Man. He didn't have Space Invaders, it was Pac-Man and Combat, and that's why to this day, I still enjoy Pac-Man. So we played this game for, you know, we played it all day, and same with Pac-Man, I still remember getting blisters on my hands playing the thing. And then it came for like the time for him to go home, and I said to him, look, why don't you just leave this here, and you can come back tomorrow and we can play it again. So he thought, yeah, that's what I'll do. So he left it, and I spent the whole night playing this thing, playing Pac-Man, and it was amazing. And that's why I have got such fond memories of Pac-Man on the 2600. People panic saying it's a shit game, but see, when that's the only game you've ever seen in your life, it's an amazing game. And even now, I still think it's actually not bad. Yeah, it doesn't look a great deal like it, but it plays okay, and you know, I've got great fond memories of playing the game. So eventually, yeah, I played it all night. He came back the following day, and of course he took it away. And that was that. You know, that was my kind of dabble with computer games, finished for a few years. And then, you know, a few years later, the Spectrum came along. The Spectrum adverts came along. I don't recall ever seen adverts on the TV for like the Vic 20 or anything like that. It was just Spectrum. I'm sure I can remember seeing adverts for it. But I became aware of the Spectrum, And then, in fact, was it in? I can't even remember. You know what it was? It was a magazine. I've done a sort of I've had a look at the magazine before in a video. There was a series of magazines called the Home Computer Course. Now I've got it in there. I'm not going to bother getting it. I've showed you before. And the very, very first issue, I mean, it was advertised on TV. It was one of these things where it was like, issue 1, 95 pence. Issue 2 was £2. So yeah, I got this was on the TV. So this was probably how I became aware of computers existing. My mum and dad, or my mum bought me the magazine, even though I didn't have a computer. They bought me this magazine, and I must have spent hours and hours and hours, reading this magazine from front to back and back to front, and looking at the pictures and just thinking about what it'd be like to own a computer. It sounds ridiculous now, it really does, but that's exactly what it was like in whatever it was in 1982. And then eventually, my mum and dad says, right, was it for my birthday? I think it might have been for my birthday. I can't really remember. They said it will get a computer. Now, I wanted the Commodore. Did I want the Commodore 64? No, you know what, I didn't. But the Commodore 64 was far too expensive, so I don't think I even looked at that as an option. So it was going to be hopefully the Spectrum. So I'd said to mum and dad, look, could I maybe get the Spectrum? And they're like, oh, okay. They had a look at it. Then they told me they were going to go and buy it. Now I can't remember. Did I go with them? Yeah, I did. I did go with them. They took me through during the week. I remember it was a weekday. I don't know why I remember that. They took me through on a weekday to a place called Comet, which was a large sort of 1980s electrical seller. Basically, I think they got taken over with Curry's eventually. So we drove through to this Comet, excuse me, and in the store they had all these computers set up, and it was always going to be basically what was the cheapest computer. So we had a look at them, and yeah, the Spectrum was there, and was the VIC 20? I think the VIC 20 was there as well, but that was even more expensive than the Spectrum, so that was never going to be an option. And then either my mum or dad, they spotted this Texas TI 99, and they said, oh, that looks really good, and the salesman did his spiel, yeah, it's got good basic, blah, 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 it looks really good, it's got a better keyboard than the Spectrum, it's like polished silver, it's metal, it looks better, it's more sturdy. So that kind of convinced my mum and dad that this was the one to get. I didn't really have a big say in what I was getting, to be honest with you. I wasn't paying for it, they were paying for it. So we bought this Texas machine, and the initial excitement of getting this home and thinking I've now got a computer, it wasn't long before I realised, or before it kind of turned to disappointment, because there was really no software out for it. I used to get the magazines, computer video games, whatever, and there was really no software available. And even like typing games were few and far between. I mean, that was the only way I was going to get software, was to either write my own, which wasn't going to happen, or else a typing game. And it was only the very, very odd game that would appear for this, and I don't even recall even typing any in for it. I got one game, which was I sent off for it, mail order. It was written in BASIC, and it was just god awful. So yeah, the initial excitement getting a computer was very, very quickly, it turned to disappointment, because I basically had a lame duck. I had this machine which really, it wasn't up to very much at all. But then that changed when I started working part-time. I got a part-time job. I was still at school, but I got a part-time job. And with a part-time job came income. I mean, I was on, I think it was maybe about £12 a week, something like that, which doesn't sound like very much, but back in 1984, I think it was 83, 84, it was, well, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was income, it was probably £11 a week more than I was getting in pocket money. So I started the job, and I got to know a few people in the shop, and they had computers, and I thought, right, what I'm going to do is, I mean, there was back then, in fact, you still get it now, back in the 80s it was called like hire purchase, but it's just you still get, basically you get the item and you pay it off over a couple of years, a couple of years. You pay so much, you basically pay interest on it as well. And the shop that I worked in, they had a HP department, and they also stocked computers. So I went along one day and had a look, and there was the Spectrum and there was the Commodore 64. And I think the difference, I can't remember what the difference in price, maybe about £100. But one of my mates who worked there, he was like, don't get the Spectrum, it's crap, it's got rubbish colours, blah blah blah. So I thought, right, I'm going to get the Commodore 64. So I paid a tenner deposit, something like that. Paid a deposit and I got this thing, and I think I was paying £12 a month. And I can still remember the excitement carrying the Commodore 64 home. I had 2 games with it. I don't know if you can see the games here. It's where is it? This one here, Frogger 64, that one, and that one, Crazy Kong, both by Interceptor Software. These are the 2 games that I got with it. Well, you didn't get them with it, to buy them. So I got home with these 2 games plus a computer, and back in the 80s, there was only one TV. You know, there wasn't such a thing as a TV in every room like we have nowadays. So, well, tell a lie, there was a black and white portable, which was in the kitchen, I think it was, and we had a colour TV upstairs. So because it was a new thing, my mum and dad agreed to let me plug it into the TV upstairs for like an hour, because obviously when I was on the computer, they couldn't watch the TV. So I plugged this thing in, excuse me, and loaded up. I remember loading up Crazy Kong. To begin with, I'll put a wee link up to Crazy Kong up there of the game in action. And as you can see there, it is pretty shit. I mean, even back in 1983, I loaded this game up and I thought it was pretty shit. And it was pretty shit. But you know what? I only had that in Frogger. So I was determined I was going to have to make the best of them. So I tried to play it, but it was so bad. It really was a terrible game. However, the second game, Frogger, was a better game. It was actually quite playable. So I played that quite a lot. But like anything, I had 2 games. One was shit and one was pretty good. But playing the same game over and over and over again. I mean, the thing is, like, Frogger is repetitive. It's the same level. You know, there's no different levels. If it had been like a platformer, something that you wouldn't get bored of. But very quickly, I did start getting bored. But then at that point, I was made aware of of pirated games. So before long, I had managed to accumulate a decent collection. And then shortly after that, I mean, I was working at that point. I used to go up to this little independent computer shop every Saturday. I would finish work at 5 o'clock. The computer shop would shut at 5:30. I would jump on my moped and I would bomb it up there, and sometimes I'd get there and it was shut. Because it was like one guy owned the shop, if there was no customers in, he would close early, and I was absolutely gutted. Getting up there on a Saturday, 5:25, door was locked. I couldn't believe it. So that was me, I was like gutted. But anyway, this went on for quite a while. I started to build up a collection. And eventually, I had the C64 for what, I don't know, until about 1987. Traded it in, or in fact I sold it, traded it in, got an Atari ST, got an Amiga, PC, SNES, and the rest is history, as they say. But what is it about video games why am I still playing them, 35 years later? I'm thinking here. I've asked myself a question. I'm trying to think about why. For me, a huge part of that reason is I still get extremely excited when I play video games. When I put a new game on for the first time, when I get a new piece of hardware, I still get that rush of adrenaline that I got when I first got my computer. Now, I've got to say, the rush of adrenaline you get now is absolutely nowhere near what it was when I first got a Commodore 64, and then when I moved from that to the Atari ST, and then, you know, from the PC to the PlayStation. You know what? I used to do economics at school. What's it called? It's like the law of diminishing returns. The more you keep getting this high, the high becomes less and less and less and less. And that's very true. I mean, when I get a new computer now or a new console, yeah, you're looking forward to playing it, but you don't get that same high, you know, as you do. So why do I still play games now? As I say, I still get an enormous enjoyment out of playing them. I love the whole interactivity. I mean, I think a massive part of the reason I'm still into computer games is because I was there at the very, very, very start of this whole thing. You know, I was there before computer games existed, and then I was there when they first started coming out. You know, going from like the little LCD, or not the LCD, is it LED, liquid crystal, whatever it's called, little electronic games like Astro Wars. Then eventually you got a TV game, and then you could interact with the TV, and that was just, it's difficult to really put into words just what that was like. It was something I'd never ever seen before. TVs, you know, prior to video games, it was just something you watched, you just looked at it, you couldn't do anything with it. And here was this thing where if I move a stick, something on the TV would move, you know, and you interacted with it. And so yeah, it's that excitement to this day has never left me. And I mean, I make no bones about it. The games that I enjoy more are the older games. It's interesting that's the case, because I mean, I've got a lot of friends who've got YouTube channels, and they are more into, you know, like myself, they got to experience the very, very early computer games, but they've kind of moved on to the more, the current stuff, your PlayStation 4 Pros and Xbox Ones, whatever they're called now. Whereas my love still sits very much in the 1980s. Don't get me wrong, I mean, you know, a massive amount of the games that I played, you know, back in the day, when I play them now, I look at them for what they are, and I think they're not that good, you know, they're quite simplistic. Thing is, I think a big part of my hobby it's not even playing the games, it's the talking about them. I suppose it's like, it's no different from people who are into football. You know, they've got all the memories of going to see their football team back in the 70s and 80s, or before that, whenever it is. It's like any hobby, you know, you've got an interest in it. But it's interesting that I'm, out of all my kind of like real life friends, people who I see, and I wouldn't say I see them day to day basis, but people who I've known through school and that kind of thing, most of the guys my age, they all had computers when they were, you know, 16, 17 years old. But they moved away from it. They moved on to computers, and not computers, they moved on to football and golf and whatever. And yeah, I've got other interests. I've got my running and that kind of stuff. I love athletics and, you know, things like that in general. I like watching sport. I'm not a football fan, I must admit, but but I love my computer games. And it's, you know, if somebody had said to me back in 1983, in the year 2018, which just sounds mental, I mean, 2018 is the future, and here we are, we're in it, and there's no flying cars. If somebody told me in 1983 that, you know, 35 years later, I would still be playing computer games, I would find that hard to believe. And if somebody said to me, you're going to be playing, the games you're playing now, you're going to be talking about on a sort of TV, you're going to have like a channel, a sort of TV channel, and you're going to be talking about these games. I mean, obviously, YouTube, internet didn't exist back then, but I'm not doing a very good job of explaining why I still like games. I mean, the bottom line is, they excite me. I still get that buzz out of loading up 1942 or Donkey Kong. I I love that, you know, and it's in me. And I mean, people have asked me, do you think you'll still be playing computer games when you're 60, 70? Well, 60 is only 10 years away. So, absolutely, I can never see me one day thinking, I'm bored of talking about this, I'm bored of computer games. Um, I think possibly having a YouTube channel now has helped keep it going because I've got an outlet for talking about it. And I mean, I love nothing better than sitting and just talking about computer games. I mean, here I am, I'm talking to an inanimate object. I've not got anybody talking back to me. I'm just talking to, a camera or a phone. So you have to be pretty passionate about a hobby to be able to do that. But yeah, I think the biggest part of the hobby for me now is just reminiscing. Now, whether that comes because it's an age thing, well, it definitely is. You don't really reminisce when you're 16 years old. Maybe you do, I don't know. But certainly when you get older, you reflect on your life and you look back at things, and you look back at things that weren't made you unhappy, and you look back at things that made you happy. And computer games, it's been a constant in my life all the way through from 16 years old. All my friendships, I mean, I've got two good mates who I've known for 35 years, and I got to know them through computer games. Yeah, all my kind of, I mean, I've got so many friends, and even like through YouTube, I've got real life friends, fellow YouTubers, guys that have got their own channels, guys that watch my channel. They share that same interest. So yeah, the computer games. I'm going to say that computer games has been quite good to me. If that sounds a silly thing to say, it's something that I've got a lot of enjoyment out of, and I still do. I still really enjoy talking about it. I mean, my wife will sit and watch whatever she watches on TV, and I'll sit and watch a guy playing bloody Manic Mine on the Spectrum. I mean, go figure. I mean, I get a laugh when I do the live stream. I did the live stream 2 weeks ago, and there's 40 people watching me playing an old computer game. I mean, what's that all about? Seriously, I mean, it doesn't stack up. It doesn't make any sense why people would want to do that. But I think the whole nostalgia thing is a massive thing. I mean, when I when I look back at when I first got a computer, I was young, I was single, I still lived with mum and dad. I didn't have any real worries in my life. I didn't have a job at that point other than a part-time job. So your life was pretty much stress-free. It was a very, very happy time. I mean, life back in the 80s was a lot simpler than it is nowadays. And I think in many ways it was much better back then. But we'll not go into that in this video. So yeah, it was a happy time. So when I load up a game, even if it's the terrible Donkey Kong or Crazy Kong, it takes me back to that happy time in my life. And I suppose conversely, when people are watching me playing a game that they maybe played, it helps take them back to happy time, and they get to hear other people. Because back in 1983 when I was playing that video game, I didn't really give it any thought, the fact that there was other people out there doing the same thing. I knew there was other people playing games, but there was no communication with people. Yeah, you went to your computer clubs and you talked to your pals, but being able to talk and converse now with people who play these very same terrible computer games as you, and you've got the same memories and the same things that you did, that's a wonderful thing. So yeah, I think the whole nostalgia thing is a massive part for me with video games. But the bottom line is, video games still excite me. Now, before I kind of move on for this topic, I was wanting to talk about the pluses and minuses. What things do I enjoy about computer games? Well, one, I've already mentioned that the community aspect, it gives me, it's a passion of mine that I love talking about, and it brings other people into it, and I like listening to other people talking about it and conversing with people, and getting to meet people that I knew as a kid, You know, and getting to interview them is a really, really great thing. It's wonderful. It's when you're having a shite time in your life, being able to put a computer game on is a really good way to escape real life. Now I know that's maybe kind of putting your head in the sand, but it's a great way to unwind. I mean, if I've had a crap day at work or whatever it is, you know, there's nothing better than sitting in this comfy seat and just putting a computer game on and playing it. So that's the good things about it. Are there any bad points about it? Well, I was going to say the money side, but you know what? Everything that I've bought in this room, I mean, I've spent quite a bit of money. I've never spent any like silly amount. I mean, the most I've ever spent anything is maybe like when I bought my PlayStation 4. But as far as old hardware goes, I've never spent massive amounts of money. But the good thing is, everything that I've got will continue to increase in value, so it's not like it's been a waste of money. But anything bad about it? I suppose from time to time it can slightly become a bit of an obsession in a not very good way. I mean, there are times where I do think to myself, you know, the YouTube thing, the YouTube channel does take up quite a bit of my time, and I do sometimes think to myself, you know, maybe I should just knock the channel on the head, sell all my stuff, keep the favourite machines, keep your Commodore 64, keep your Amiga, keep your Vectrex, get rid of everything else, and that'll give you so much more time to do other stuff. And I've thought about that, and I think to myself, well, yeah, I could do that, but would I be happy? What would I do with the money? The money would probably get frittered away in rubbish, and I think basically I'd end up regretting it. So I'm not going to do that. I've always maintained if I ever get to a stage where I'm not enjoying the hobby, not enjoying making YouTube videos, whatever, then I'll stop doing it. Simple as that, you know. That's never been an issue. And I think if I got to a point where my health, whether my eyesight, my hands, or you know, I physically wasn't able to play computer games, then I would. At that point, that's when I would probably knock it in the head. And do something else. Right, before I move on to the questions, I happened to one of my mates posted a link on Facebook. Now I don't know if you've been following it, the ZX Spectrum Vega Plus debacle, and that's about all you can really call it. The Spectrum Vega, or ZX Spectrum Vega, whatever it's called, was a little handheld device type thing. It looked like a kind of gamepad, an NES gamepad, and it had Spectrum games in it, and it was crowdfunded, and yeah, I mean, I think it done pretty well. But then about a year and a half ago, I think it was, they announced a follow-up called the Spectrum Plus, the Vega Spectrum Plus, something like that. And basically it was going to look, it's a PSP. It looks exactly like an old style PSP, except it can only play Spectrum games, and it also was going to have the little rainbow Spectrum-y thing across the bottom right hand corner. So needless to say, the Spectrum community went daft over it, and the Kickstarter was funded, or reached, whatever it is, I don't know what the word you call it, the phrase you use for it. Now they brought in, it was something like £530,000, and a year and a half later, or over a year from when the people were supposed to get the machines, not one person has received theirs. And somebody managed to get a hold of the accounts of these guys, and it looks like the money has basically been pissed up against the wall. You know, meals, drink bills, you name it. Basically, over £500,000 of money has disappeared. Now, on the Kickstarter page, people have been asking for their money back, and basically the company has just been completely ignoring their request for the money back. So yeah, there's a lot of very, very unhappy people, backers, can't blame them. They've given, I think it's like £99 to this company or group of people, and they've had absolutely nothing back. There's been no promises. Well, there's been lots of promises, but nothing has been forthcoming. And effectively, you can kiss your money goodbye. So, for a company to rake in over £500,000 and to give nothing back does not seem right. Now, I was mentioning, somebody sent me a link. One of the backers has apparently successfully taken this company to court and successfully won their case. I think they're getting back something like 500 quid. Now, I'm absolutely delighted to see that. I mean, I really hope the guys that are behind this Kickstarter, I hope they get the book flung at them, send them to jail as far as I'm concerned, because you can't do that. You can't ask for money, then just not keep it and don't give anything back. I really hope that every other backer gets the same amount of money. I mean, how this group are going to pay for it, I don't know. There again, they've had £500,000 to play with, so if you happen to be a Spectrum, if you happen to have backed the Vega Plus, go to the Kickstarter page, have a look. It might be worthwhile taking it further, because it's absolutely wrong, and that's why I'm against a lot of these Kickstarter things, because there's no guarantee. I understand that there's not always a guarantee of getting something, but for a company or a group of people to rake in such a sizable amount of money and for it to go nowhere, that is wrong. So I really hope that these guys get hauled over the coals, get their asses fined, stick them in jail for a few years. They need to be taught a lesson. You can't get away with ripping the public off like that. So yeah, that's good news. Right, excuse me, I'm now going to batter on with the questions. I've got a few here actually. Now, I've got a newcomer. He's one of my kind of new subscribers, Brian Belshaw. Thank you, Brian. Can you think of an arcade port that was better than the original? For example, in my opinion, I believe Rodland on the Amiga is better than the arcade version. Yeah, I think you're right, Brian. Rodland, I love the arcade game Rodland. It does slow down. Apparently, even the arcade version slows down. The Amiga one it's arcade perfect, but it doesn't slow down. So yeah, I would probably go along with that one. I think. Yeah. Other, let me think, better than arcades. I mean, one that a lot of people talk about, and I do get it, is Buggy Boy. Buggy Boy in the Commodore 64. Now, interestingly, I mean, Buggy Boy was a behemoth of an arcade game. It had a huge big monitor. The graphics were really kind of super high res. There was no way they were ever going to be able to port a machine like that onto an 8-bit machine and get away with it. So what they did was, excuse me, let's move my leg up. What they did was they took the basis of the game, the idea behind the game, and they then refined the graphics. Using the C64 hardware, the strengths of the hardware, and they made what you could probably say is a simplistic version of Buggy Boy, but it just plays so well. It is so playable. So that is one, you could argue and say, well, it's hardly better than the arcade. Yeah, the arcade one looks amazing. The C64 one doesn't look amazing. But as far as playing it, I would say the C64 one plays better. It's a really good game. If you've never checked it out, go and do so. Any other games where it's better? I mean, I can't think of many where I could say it's better. But I think someday, I can't remember who it was, one of the guys commented, is it Super Space Invaders on the Commodore Amiga is apparently better than the arcade one. I can't comment on that because I don't think I've ever played Super Space Invaders on either the arcade or the Amiga. I mean, there's been some fantastic conversions of games. I mean, Arkanoid on the Atari ST and Commodore Amiga. I mean, the Commodore Amiga one's my favourite. I think that the mouse control is better than the paddle. Now, if you own an arcade game, you're probably saying you're talking shite, and possibly, I mean, maybe the paddle is the better option, but it's not easy to play. It's not many people have paddles for their sort of computers. But the mouse control is brilliant. It's a really good way to play Arkanoid. can't think of anything else offhand, Brian. No, I mean, there's been some amazing arcade conversions over the years, but better than arcade. Nah. Thing about arcade games, I've always maintained, arcade games, they were never designed to be playable. They're designed to draw you in, to take your money off you, and then basically end the game as quick as possible. So they were never really designed to be particularly playable games. So I suppose in a lot of ways, if you get a home version and they make it a bit easier, then it's potentially a better game because it's easier to play. Whereas an arcade game, I mean, I reckon the average person lasts about a minute and a half playing an arcade game for the first time, and I could probably agree with that. Maybe a minute and a half's being a bit long, but yeah, great question, Brian. And anyway, thanks very much for asking it. Next up, Batman. I recently purchased another Nintendo GameCube, having sold mine ages ago. I got a pang to own one once again, even though I kept my games and can play them on the Wii. It just didn't feel the same. I like to play games for the hardware they are intended for. What are your thoughts on the GameCube? How do you feel about backwards compatibility on game systems? Do you play Xbox 360 games on Xbox One, PS games on the PS2? Yeah, going back further, Atari 2600 games on the 7800. The GameCube, it's like a lot of Nintendo consoles. I mean, I've still got the GameCube. In fact, I actually own two. I actually bought another one fairly recently, a Japanese one, and it's got the wee kind of built-in screen. I really like the GameCube. I mean, there's not a lot of games for it, but there are some fantastic games. I mean, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Sunshine, yeah, it's got its knockers, but who are misses? It's got a lot of people knock the game saying it's not a great Mario game, but I like it. I enjoy it. Then you've got your Super Monkey Ball, Pikmin. I mean, Pikmin's a wonderful, wonderful franchise. I love my GameCube. I wasn't a fan of the N64, but I love the GameCube. As far as backwards compatibility, it's not something I ever do. I think because I've still got the originals, all these machines. I've still got the Xbox 360. I've still got the Xbox. I've got the PS2. I've got the Wii. I've got the Wii U. You know, I've got a 7800. I've also got a 2600, but I never really play it. So I would rather play it in the original hardware, because I always think if you're going to start going down the road of playing, you know, a PlayStation game on the PS3 or the PS2, whatever, then why don't I just go down the emulation route? To me, it's all about the controller, and even seeing the console in front of you, I think, is a part of the experience. So I don't generally do. I never really play old games on modern hardware. The only time I do that is if I'm emulating. I'm using one of my wee handhelds, whatever. But in the main bat, I'll always use the original hardware. But yeah, thanks again for the question. Next up, down the rabbit hole, Kev. I have just ordered Vector Patrol for the Vectrex, but I want to ask your opinion on non-Vector games being turned into Vector games like that. Do you like Vector Pilot? But I'm not a fan of Berserk, so generally, is it a good idea to try and turn raster games into Vector games? You know what, Kev? I took along the Vectrex to the computer club last week, and a couple of the guys, one guy in particular, Mike, I mean, he owns quite a lot of arcade games and that kind of stuff, and he wasn't really a fan of the Vectrex. I showed him Vector Patrol, not Vector Patrol, Vector Pilot, which is basically, as you know, it's Time Pilot for the Vectrex, and it is an absolutely astonishing conversion. It's beautiful. I'll put a wee link if I can remember. I do a lot of these. I'll put a link up there, and I forget to put the link up, but I'll let you see a bit of footage of it running. It is a beautiful game. The same as I've got Space Invaders called Yet Another Space Invaders, and again, it is mind blowing how on earth these guys have been able to make raster games using a vector screen. I don't know. Vector Patrol, I've been quite interested. That's the Space Patrol game, isn't it? I'm looking forward to watching your video when you do get it, Kev, because I might have to order myself that. I'm sure I did email the guy at the time noting interest, but I never got anything back. So make sure you get a video stuck out about it, Kev. But yeah, I'm a massive fan. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me just how clever these guys are with the Vectrexes. So yeah. Number 2, excuse me. In your driving chat this week, you mentioned how Imagine Software seemed to spend their money faster than they earned it, but the Ocean Software was more successful and lasted longer. It sounds a bit to me like the comparison to Atari versus Activision. Atari went bankrupt, but Activision survived. Would you agree? I think it was a bit different, Kev. I mean, I don't know if you're really aware of like Imagine Software. They were the first big software company that came out in the UK. They put out a few games, and the one thing, I mean, because they were such an early company, they knew there was a marketplace. They got all these games put out. They had really amazing looking artwork, and people like myself, we couldn't get enough of the games, so we're spending all these £5.50s buying the games, and the games were shit. They really were shit. I mean, there was one or two that were alright, like Arcadia. There was a couple of games that were okay, that were passable, but in the main the games were absolutely shit. But because of the artwork, these guys were making millions. They were making absolutely millions of pounds. And they were in the press at the time because the famous story, and it is true, the famous story that apparently they deliberately put it out to get some sort of exposure in the papers. There was a guy, Eugene Evans. He was 16 years old. He was like a child prodigy, amazing at programming games. Though saying that, and look at the games he programmed, they're pretty shite. But he apparently had like a Ferrari when he was working on Imagine, and he couldn't even drive. They were all the programmers. I mean, I don't think it's true, but they're saying like the cleaners as well. They were all on about in big fancy cars. So Imagine Software, they made all this. They made a lot of money very, very quickly, and they just basically blew it. I mean, they even opened up a big tape processing plant, and it was lying empty. You know, they weren't selling enough, and eventually they went bankrupt very quickly. I think they only existed for about 2.5 years. So I think to compare them with Atari, I don't think it's very fair. Imagine Software, they basically fooled everybody. They made a lot of money very quickly, and they spent it all very quickly and went out of business very quickly. Atari, I think it was just some bad business moves, you know, pricing and that kind of stuff. I don't think you could say it was, you know, you couldn't. Atari were very successful. You know, I don't quite know what the demise of Atari was. I mean, they brought out the Atari ST, but the Amiga was better, and then I think people eventually sussed that and went on to the Amiga. But yeah, I mean, Atari obviously making software, they stopped. I don't know when they stopped. Their later software like sort of Tubin and Paperboy, whereas Activision to now they're still existing sort of thing. But aye. And thirdly, I have just posted a video about how I almost never do pre-orders, but I made an exception for this VR game. Do you have any personal rules about pre-orders, like you never do them, or it depends on the game? Generally, Kev, I'm old school, so pre-orders isn't really a thing I have to worry about. You know, I don't buy a lot of games for modern systems, and when I do, I don't think. I'll tell a lie. The only games I've pre-ordered were for the Switch. I pre-ordered Mario Kart and I pre-ordered Mario Odyssey because I wanted them right away, and I'm not disappointed. They're both amazing games. I mean, I got for my Christmas World War II Call of Duty for the PlayStation 4 because I like the look of it, and it's still sitting up there. Now the thing is, what I should really do is, you know, why do I pre-order a game? Because I'm not going to play it until I've completed other games. So why I would go and waste 45-50 quid on a game that's going to sit still sealed on a shelf for 6 months, maybe a year, and then get played? It doesn't make any sense. So for me, because I don't really play modern games that much, pre-ordering games isn't something that I generally do, but with the Switch, I've done it, and I've not regretted it. You know, if there's a game that comes out that I'm desperate to get, then I will pre-order it because I want it. But in the main, because most of the games that I play are ancient, it's not something I do on a sort of regular basis. But anyway, Kev, thanks for your questions, mate. Next up, now I think this is a first question from him, Neil M. Thanks, Neil. Are there any good retro game shops around Edinburgh or Glasgow that are worth a visit? Here in Western Australia there are a few, but none carry microcomputer games. I'd love to buy a few box games on my June-July UK trip. You know what, Neil? I'm not entirely sure. I mean, where I stay, I live sort of between Edinburgh and Glasgow. I can't say there are any. I mean, but the only shop that I would say stocks retro games is CEX, which you know about, you know. But even then, you're talking like PlayStation 2, PS3 kind of thing. They don't sell SNES games. If you do get the occasional old game like a SNES or a Mega Drive game, it's usually 60 quid. You know, they really charge for it. I think there are a few independent sort of retro gaming shops in Glasgow, but I don't really know of any. There used to be one in Edinburgh years, I'm talking 1990, in Edinburgh. I don't know if that's still there. I can't even remember what it was called. It used to sell SNES games, but I don't know if that's still there. But yeah, it's not really a common thing. I think down in England, I think they're kind of catered for better with independent games. But yeah, it's unfortunately, Neil, it's not a particularly common thing. When you are coming across here, if you're ever near Edinburgh, be sure to give me a shout, mate. And can get out for a pint. It'd be nice to actually meet you. But anyway, yeah, safe journey when you do come across, Neil, and thanks for your question. And next up, is this the last one? No, I've still got another couple to go. Ox, a question for you, Al. As you seem to have had a similar system upgrade path as myself, do you ever regret upgrading to another system too soon, or wish you'd held on to an older system instead of trading up? For me, it was selling my Commodore 128, which was preceded by a C64 in 1986, to upgrade to the Atari STM with separate floppy drive that I had to wait a further 3 months to afford. Although I loved the better graphics and big games like Dungeon Master and ST, I always missed the gameplay of Commodore 64 games, and the 128 was a lovely looking machine. Maybe one day I'll get to add it to my collection. When I got back in 8-bit gaming via emulators in the late 90s, I found I had missed a massive chunk of C64 gaming titles, many of which were technically superior to the stuff I was used to before I sold my Commodores, and yet had no love or feeling of nostalgia playing the missed titles, as there was no previous experience of them back in the day. Well, I'm exactly the same. I mean, I sold my C64 1987, I think it was, and then so really anything that came out after 1987 I didn't have any knowledge of or any experience of. And so when I look at games now, I mean, when I talk about Commodore 64 games, people will say to me, oh, what about this game, you know, was it Mayhem Monsters or whatever it's called, this game was great. Because I never played it back in the day, I don't have any real love for it, so I'm exactly the same as you. But was there ever a system that I upgraded or sold too soon? I think I mean, yeah, you know, the C64, I had it for what, maybe 3-4 years. I don't regret upgrading it. I mean, yeah, there was other games that did come out, you know, technically superior games that I didn't get to play. But I didn't regret getting Atari ST. Yeah, when I did get the ST, I was initially disappointed with the sound. I mean, the C64 sound chip, in my opinion, was way better than the Atari ST one. So I was initially disappointed with the sound. And then I quickly moved up to the Amiga. Did I regret moving on? I don't think so. I mean, I had I mean, I got rid of the ST pretty quickly. I only had that for maybe about a year, if that, maybe slightly more. But I always look upon the Amiga as being like a supercharged Atari ST, and it was the same software, so I didn't really feel like I missed out getting rid of the ST so quickly. Possibly the Commodore Amiga. I mean, I had the Commodore Amiga from, what would it be, 1989, I think it would be, 88, 89. No, it was 89, I think it was, I got it. Yeah, it was definitely 1989 I got my Commodore Amiga. And then I got my PC. I mean, I had the Amiga from 91, 89 until I got it. I think I was getting married and I had to get money. And I can't believe I did it now, but I had to get money and I sold my Amiga. That was the only system I had. I sold my Commodore Amiga 1991, I think it was. And at that point, I then had no computer systems, which I can't believe I actually did that. You know, that it's one of these things I did back then. And so I basically sold the only computer system I had because I needed the money. But then I did re-buy the Amiga later on. I can't remember when I got it again, 1983, something like that. I did buy another one. And then I eventually sold it in 1995 to get a PC. Did I regret selling it? Possibly. I mean, the thing is, I always think that the games, the vintage Amiga games, I still had an Amiga at that point. You know, all your sensible software games, your Sensei Soccer, Stunt Car Racer, Elite, all these epic games. I still had my Amiga at that point. I mean, yeah, there were still, when I sold it and got the PC, there were still a few games coming out for the Amiga, but none that I really think, oh damn it, I wish I'd hung on to it longer. So yeah, I don't really. Yeah, what were you saying? You're asking about upgrading too soon. I wish I'd held older machine. Nah, I don't think I did. Don't think I did. But I'm exactly like yourself. Once I'd sold a system, and I'd moved on to something else, I didn't really miss the games that I'd never played because they were new to me. I'd never seen them before. So because it comes back to the old nostalgia thing, because I didn't have any nostalgia, I'd never played them. I didn't have any happy memories of them, so I didn't have any nostalgia for them. So, yeah, but no, to answer your question, I don't think there was. I would love to have maybe kept them longer, but that would have meant not getting a new machine, which I didn't want to do. Because back then, you could only afford one machine. You wanted another machine, you had to sell that machine to fund the purchase. But anyway, listen, mate, thanks very much for the question. And finally, I have quite a few here from Lactobacillus Prime, my good mate Marco. What is your opinion on the PC master race attitude people can have? Yeah, what Mark's saying is there are a section of people who have ridiculously expensive PCs. I mean, when you go to these computer shows, they're selling PCs for like £5,000. People will pay, I don't know what the most expensive graphics card will be. They have water cooled PCs. They'll pay £600 for a graphics card. Yeah, lovely if you can afford it. But yeah, there are people like these guys who look down their nose at consoles. They'll laugh and they'll say, "Ha, PS4, that's 10-year-old PC technology. Who cares? You know what? I'm still playing games from 1983, 1980, whatever. I couldn't give two shits about it." And I do think, if you're not into something, then don't diss it. Don't piss on other people's chips. I don't know why people have this. They want to do that because they don't like something. They want to tell people that they shouldn't do it because it's rubbish. Well, that's your thought. You know what I mean? There's a lot to be said for a PlayStation 4. You switch your machine on. You don't have to upgrade it. You don't have to change anything. It just works. The old PC upgrade thing was you always had to upgrade your video card, every couple of years, and you're constantly paying for it. And you know what? Yeah, maybe that's changed now. I don't know, but you're talking. I'm sitting here. I'm the type of person that would quite happily play Donkey Kong. So graphics to me is not important. I couldn't give two monkeys about pun intended, Donkey Kong Monkey. I couldn't care about graphics. It's all about gameplay for me. So yeah, people like that, I just get bored. You know, I wouldn't even talk to these people. If they think that because I'm playing a Commodore 64 or playing a, you know, a 10-year-old technology PS4, they think that's sad, then sad on them. You know what I mean? Stuff them. Next up, what's your opinion on the consoles only attitude? Sorry, what's that? What's your opinion on the console only attitude people can have? So I'm not quite sure what you're meaning with that one, Mark. What's your opinion on the console only? You mean people that will only play games? I mean, I think there's a lot of people that they've only got a console or they've only got a computer. I'm not 100% sure what you're actually getting at with that one, Mark. I mean, you know what? To me, it's all about the games. How you run a game is irrelevant. You know, if you enjoy playing a game on your phone, on your Game Boy, on your PSVR, on your £2,000 PC, that's up to you. You know, I think people should worry about their own life instead of constantly worrying about other people's. But yeah, sorry, Mark, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you can explain what you're meaning by that one. I'm just not. What's your opinion on the console only attitude people can have? I'm not really sure what you're getting with that one, Mark. So maybe stick a wee comment below, Mark, and let me know. Right, number 3 from Marco is the Wii an underrated system? Hey, I'm looking at there's my Wii there. Still use it. I don't use it that often, but I do still play it from time to time. Is it an underrated system? I don't think so. The Wii was probably, I mean, the Wii was ridiculously successful. It was the one console that really, it covered a huge populace. I mean, people who never played video games bought a Wii. I mean, I can remember getting my Wii or trying to buy it, and you couldn't get them for love nor money. They were just like hen's teeth. You know, people were paying silly money. So yeah, the Wii basically appealed to non-gamers. Yeah, the big selling point was your keep fit and playing 10-pin bowling with your family and that kind of stuff. So yeah, from that aspect, it was good. I do think that the Wii controller aspect didn't really take off as well as it could have. I mean, some of the best games, in fact, I'd probably say all the best games for the Wii were games that were made by Nintendo. You know, your Mario games, Mario Galaxy 2, Zelda, the, what do you call it, Wii Sports Resort is an absolutely awesome game. I mean, it uses the, what was it called again? It was the Wii add-on to give the controller greater accuracy. But these are amazing games. But the Wii was home to a lot of shovelware. A lot of the games are diabolical. Some of the games were just truly awful. Was it an underrated system? I don't think so, because I mean, the thing about Nintendo, they've never really been one to worry too much about being cutting edge with technology. Even they get a lot of criticism for that. Even like the Switch, people were panning it, saying it's not even as good as the PlayStation 4, even though it came out like 2-3 years after it. But who really cares as long as the games are good? But the Wii did feel like, can you going back in time? I mean, I don't know where the Wii stands on power. I think it's kind of similar to the PS2. And the Wii came after the PS3, I think. And the technology wasn't even as good as the PS3. You know, I never understand that. So yeah, as far as it being a good game system, a lot of the games were truly awful. But there are still some really good games. The Mario Galaxy games are awesome. I'm trying to think offhand. Some of the sort of like the light gun games and that are really good as well. I do still play from time to time. Resident Evil 4 is a great system on it. I don't think it was underrated, but I do think it was labelled with the system that had all the shit games in it, because there were so many games released for the Wii, and a lot of them there was really no effort went into making them. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be known as a system that people don't really talk about the Wii with any affection. I mean, like the SNES, the NES, there's YouTube channels that just talk about these systems. The Wii seems to be the child that nobody wants to talk about. It's kind of similar to the Xbox. People talk about the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. You never really hear people talking about the Xbox either. You know, if you say name a good game in the Xbox, you think Halo, which I don't even like. And then you think other games, can't think of many. So, I think, I don't know what it is, Mark. I think possibly just because the Wii was home to so many truly awful games, it's possibly unfairly been tagged as a system that nobody really wants anymore. Yet, when you actually dig in, there are a lot of good games for it. There were some real classic games. What are your 5 gems for that system? Well, I've actually just told you. Wii Sports Resort is an awesome game. The 2 Mario games, Super Metroid games on the Wii are brilliant as well. There's some great games. As I says, Resident Evil 4 is an awesome game in it. And is it Enduro Racer? No, was it Enduro Racer came out as well? I can't remember. But yeah, there's some. All these games are absolutely fantastic. Input lag, is that something you experience or are affected by? I can't say I do, Mark. I think the only time I've ever experienced input lag is if I use the, if I use my GPDXD and I cast it using like the week, I've got a cheapo Chinese Chromecast thing, and I've also got a proper cast, Google Chromecast. If I cast the games, there's a bit of delay, so I generally don't play because of that reason. You know, if you're playing arcade games, you need instant response. You do occasionally get input lag on emulators, but if you do, then I generally won't play them. But in the main, I don't think it's something that's really affects me too much because I simply won't use it. Is Android a viable retro gaming emulation platform? Hell yes. I mean, I've got more Android devices than you can shake a stick at. I've got my NVIDIA Shield Portable. I've got my GPDXD, and I've also got a new member of the family, which I'm not even going to tell you. I'm going to make a video. I bought it last week, and I love it. It is. All I'm going to say is it's probably the quintessential best Android thing you can buy if you want to play retro games. I'm going to do a video. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You might guess what it is, but this will prove categorically that the Android is a fantastic system for emulation. Is Linux a viable retro gaming emulation platform? I can't say I know anything about Linux. The only experience I have with Linux, I suppose, Mark, I think, is Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi thing that runs on, RetroPie is a multi-emulation thing that runs on the Raspberry Pi. And if that is Linux, which I think it is, in fact it is definitely, then it's an amazing thing. I mean, you know, a Raspberry Pi with RetroPie on it is probably about the easiest and most cost-effective way you can enjoy retro games. Yeah, it's not the most, I mean, Raspberry Pis are not the most powerful systems in the world. What do you expect for 35 quid? But it opens the doors to a lot of different systems. So yeah, absolutely, Linux is a fantastic way to enjoy emulation. Have you ever considered building a retro gaming 90s PC? You know what, Mark? I've been asked that before, and no. I don't know what it is. Out of all the systems that I've owned over the years, I mean, I had a PC for quite a number of years from like 1995, and then I kind of stopped playing games on my PC when I got my Xbox 360. I don't have any real nostalgia for all the games that I played. I mean, some of the games that I loved, I mean, obviously Doom. We've all played Doom. Amazing game. Warcraft. I love the Warcraft games. I've played them occasionally, but I can't say I have any real nostalgia for them. And so, yeah, to answer your question, have I ever considered it? I've thought about it, and it's not something right now I've got any interest in doing. I mean, one of my mates, George, he builds some of these 90s sort of PCs, 486s, and he loves them. But I've just got no interest in them at all. Don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's too modern for me. Not too sure. And lastly from Mark, has emulation progressed so far that it could actually completely replace one's retro gaming room? In the case of me, Mark, 100% yes it could, because I mean, I don't really play many games. Yeah, I do play my PS4 obviously, but you know, most of the games that I play are 8-bit, 16-bit. I do from time to time play like the PlayStation, the Dreamcast. All these systems can now be emulated very well. I generally don't play, because I've got the hardware there, I don't generally play like disc-based systems, because you've obviously got to download the games and they take up a lot of space. So I don't sort of I tend to stick to real hardware. But if push came to shove, I mean, I've always you know, been fully aware that there may become one day where I decide, right, enough's enough. I've had enough of owning real hardware. I mean, I've got a couple of machines. My PC Engine Duo, which I've only had for 6 months, stopped working. And yeah, it's a pain in the arse, and I mean, with any luck I might get it going again, but I'm kind of reached the stage now that I would rather offload stuff than increase my collection. And if hardware starts to fail, unless it's something like the Amiga, the Commodore 64, it'll probably get to a point I'll say, right, okay, it doesn't work anymore. I'll sell it for parts and I'll just play it in emulators. But yeah, because I play 99% of the games that I play, I can emulate perfectly on handhelds, on the computer, on my MAME cab, on my Retro Pi, whatever. Absolutely. For me, I don't have an issue with it at all. I do enjoy real hardware, but it might get to a point, Mark, where I'll just I'll decide enough's enough, throw the towel in, and move over 100% to emulation. So anyway, Mark, thanks for some cracking questions there. That is the questions, guys. Before I finish off, Blackpool. Blackpool is next week. I'm travelling down on the Saturday, coming back on the Saturday. I'll be there the full day. If anybody's going and you happen to see me, come up. I mean, let me know if you are going. If you happen to be going down there, you see me, come up and say hello. I'm going to be wearing my... I got a t-shirt made called... well, it's got my face in it, and it's got bollocks written across it. If you happen to see that, then you know that's me. If you do see me, come up and say hello. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing some of the Retro and Limb guys. They're going down. Big Mark, Lactobacillus Prime, he's going as well with Castardo. He's going to be there as well. Looking forward to seeing these guys. So yeah, if you are at Blackpool and you see me, come up and say hello. It'd be nice to have a wee chat with you. And finally, guys, following well, I think it was quite successful, the live stream that I did on, when was it, a couple of weeks ago. A few people were asking me, would I do a live question and answers thing. I'm on camera and you guys type in questions. I mean, basically, I suppose you could call it a live waffle. So I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to do it on this Tuesday coming, probably starting at 7:30. So yeah, hopefully what I'll probably do is stick a quick video out, just advertising it to hopefully get some people in. So let me know if you're going to join in. If I don't get anyone replying, then I might not do it, but hopefully you will tune in. So yeah, that could be quite interesting. So anyway, guys, listen. As usual, thanks for all the support. The subscriber numbers is going up. It's really, really, really good. Which, you know, it's always excellent. Thanks for everybody who takes time to watch the channel. You know, if you like the channel and you've not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, because the more people that subscribe, it helps to kind of get the channel more views, and it helps me. I mean, it's my kind of payback for doing this, getting to see that people enjoy it. So anyway, guys, finally, thank you very, very much for watching.